You must not read from the book!
I mean, there's a broader debate to be had about shoot to kill, no doubt about it. I mean, Birmingham is a city that has suffered terrible terrorism over the years. They wanted to hear, just after Paris, that basically if a man walks down your street with a big gun and he's going to kill you and he's got a bomb strapped to him, that we will shoot him in the head immediately, 10 times. It's about communication.
How big is a big gun? That's my question.
That's the thing. They're never specific about how big it is.
I assume it's Mr. Tickle's railgun.
Nice. Okay, good start.
Hello and welcome to Podcasting is Praxis, a podcast in which we're all going to commit unspeakable psychic horror upon ourselves and you, the listener. I'm David. I'm here with Alistair.
A begrudging hello.
James.
Hi.
Jamie.
All right.
Rob.
Misery loves company.
And special guest here to also inflict psychic damage upon us all is Sinan Coes.
Hey, how you doing? I'm looking forward to this. I've been excited
Right
for a
now
while.
I'm doing well. In future, I don't know.
That is about to change, let me tell you.
I'm really looking forward to getting double teamed by Rob and Sinan tonight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, Sin and I have been DMing for a few days, and I think we're both very much looking forward to tonight.
Who slid into whose DMs is the question.
Rob DM'd me first.
Of course.
Because I never, like, for real, never DM anyone first unless I desperately need them on the stream for some reason. So I'm just glad I had my vaccine, then had to write my notes, so any side effects were covered up by the book. That's it.
That's true.
I was going to say, for a moment there, it sounded like you were suggesting that Jess Philips' book could have given you COVID.
Wait a minute, is it
that's
Jess
exactly
Philips'
what I'm
book that
saying.
we're reading tonight?
Yeah.
Oh no, right, hang on a minute, David, come on.
Well, no, I told you this would happen with no proper warning. I threatened this, and I made good on my threat that you would all be here for this.
This is true.
It's too late now.
Yeah, you would all be here on time for this awful, awful experience for an entire night.
You know what the first, like, warning sign should have been was that I was showing up. Like, that's really when you should have known something was up.
Yeah, Sin and the Herald of Woe.
Was it not a decent hint when people were talking about the impersonator on Pornhub?
Well, yeah, I suppose that was also a pretty good guess as well.
I
Give it away,
just didn't
like-
put two and two together. Oh no.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure if you're that upset about it, we could switch to like Giles Corran's sex novel or whatever the fuck that was from the other week.
No, I don't think we will.
Oh, was that his article from 2015?
No. He also wrote an actual novel where some incredibly disturbing sex scenes in it.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He
You
didn't
might
do
be
that.
thinking of Paul Mason, whose book I had to read.
No, I'm definitely thinking of Giles
No,
Corran.
just
and his
Giles Corran
non-Euclidean
also,
sex
yeah.
scene.
Why do these people keep writing sex books? What is going on?
Is that the one where a dick ends up rattling around someone's teeth?
Yeah.
are you
It flops
talking
about
about?
like a shower dropped in an empty bath.
You know, okay.
I refuse to believe any of these people have had sex. I'm sorry, but like,
Right, do you know what, David, actually, in retrospect, this is starting to sound quite good, so how about you lead us into the Council Pop Chronicles Volume 1?
Well, before we go to that, why don't we just do some little news nuggets?
Yeah, a little bit of warm-up
Yeah,
before we
okay.
get to the main course.
I'm immediately skeptical that this is going to be worse somehow than usual.
Well, I mean, let's start by the renewed effort to get everybody back to work. This was today's thing. This is now also, of course, becoming natural. The government doesn't actually announce a policy. They leak it via some anonymous minister to the press, see how everybody responds, and then make the policy afterwards. So the new thing is that, like, at least within the civil service, if you don't go back into the office, you should have your pay cut, said the anonymous minister. Commuter costs are in your salary, so that if you don't commute, if you aren't going into work, you don't deserve the terms and conditions if you're not going into work.
That's horse shit, though, because like literally no job pays you for your fucking commute.
exactly, like you're not getting. And also, have you seen how much it fucking costs to get anywhere? at any time.
And not just that, but can anyone remind me what increases more year on year? Is it wages or is it train fares? Questions that need answering.
Yeah, much to think about.
I suppose it depends on whether. I suppose it depends on whether you're the executive. No, it depends on whether you're the executive for a train company, because then both increase year on year, right?
This is also true.
Yeah,
so what else did Ian Duncan Smith say? I'm convinced it was him. This has him written all fucking over it.
Is he a government minister, though?
No, he's not.
Well, then it probably isn't him.
But why would they say it was a government minister if...
It's. I'm guessing...
They could just say it's anyone.
Someone telling lies in the media? Say it ain't so.
No, I'm guessing this is the Treasury, and I don't think it's Rishi Sunak. I think it's Kwasi Kwarteng. That would be my guess. But yeah, there's now also a suggestion, at least from within the civil service, that if you don't come back into the office, you won't get a promotion because you're not there for that, cool water cooler chat in which all the real meetings happen.
I love to highlight all the problems of office work and cliquiness and proper exclusionary social tactics and stuff, and then just go, but actually they're all cool and good and we should do more of them.
Yeah, it's just fucking managers having a panic attack. It's like if people aren't physically in the office for some fucking jumped up prick to lean over your shoulder and complain that you're not doing fucking spreadsheets properly or some shit, then they don't have a reason to exist.
I feel attacked.
And they're all do you know what I mean?
Famously, the two industries in the UK are spreadsheets and racism. So
yeah,
yes.
Well, I mean, there is a third industry, of course, and that's the commercial real estate sector. That's why cunts Labour peers like Alan Sugar are whining that if you're not in the office, then you are less than a human being, and if you're not, ordering sandwiches at Pret, then clearly you should just be hung and quartered in the public square.
Did you see that? Did you see that other thing about Alan Sugar this week?
Did he fall down a well?
No, I hoped he would die soon.
Are you retiring your current Twitter account again?
Yeah.
Well, I think didn't two of his siblings die? I'm pretty sure that two of his family members died of COVID or siblings.
Yeah,
and he's still everybody needs to get back in the office, and COVID is bullshit.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to understand what we're actually hearing here is an almighty gnashing wail of my portfolio.
Yes,
when it comes to housing and to property in general.
I mean, Rishi Sunak was not maybe the minister with the blind quote, but he definitely popped up in support of this said statement, saying that he had found it really beneficial to work in an office environment early in his career, and doubted whether or not he would be able to bring...
but not now. Yeah, for some reason.
See, I think if he says that, then that to me screams he's a
oh my god!
I was going to say it screams he had a very easy fucking job out of uni.
I'm pretty sure he went to work for Goldman Sachs, didn't he? Isn't that his first job?
Yeah, but no one fucking does any work there. Come on.
It's all performative work, right?
Yeah, it's it's like you look like you're doing work. But
that's exactly it. It's the illusion of being productive is much more important than the actual doing anything productive while you're at work.
It's the looking busy factory.
If his first job was at Goldman Sachs, I'm not saying he did this, but it's probably good working there because you're probably coked up half the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, it just trains your nasal cavity to be rock hard at some point.
It also, it depends, because not all positions at Goldman Sachs are created equal. Some of them do involve a ridiculous amount of work, as in, really actually quite inhuman conditions when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And then some of them are very much, I'm going to take coke, I'm going to make 2 phone calls, I'm going to fiddle with some numbers on my terminal, and then I'm going to clock off for a long lunch. So it really depends. And I'm going to guess that he, of all people, did not start at the really deep end of I'm going to work 16, 18-hour days,
Yeah, I think Goldman Sachs upped its minimum salary for starting whatevers they are there, uni graduate schemes to, I think it was $110,000 now a year pre-bonus to compensate for the 90 plus. To compensate for the 90 plus hours that you work there every week as a junior.
Just as a reminder, these places have something like a minimum of a 50% annual bonus of your salary. It's just standard. It's insane.
I don't know what the minimums are, but the bonuses are quite generous. Yeah, I mean.
The minimums are bad, but the bonuses are very, very good.
Hey. I mean, speaking of things that may be not so good, I don't know if you guys been following this along, but
I mean, to be fair, with that segue, you could be talking about literally anything. At this stage.
This is sort of one of these things that's sort of been rumbling along vaguely in the background, and there was that documentary a while ago. I think it was Channel 4, and this was in the FT yesterday. Piece by Emiko Terrazzano and David Giglione. That nearly a third of the world is now food or nutrition insecure. Now, that's mainly developing countries, but Western countries are starting to catch up now. Like 9% of all people in North America and Europe are now regularly going hungry.
Say it after me, most efficient distribution of resources.
Yes. Particularly hard hit, would it surprise you to know, are the self-employed, people on temporary contracts, and the informal economy, because none of them have structured benefits like sick pay or unemployment. So when you're off the job,
sector done then, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these people, if they're short of cash, should get a job at like Tesco pouring bleach into like skips full of food at the end of every day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that way you get the pick of the bunch.
Actually, funny story. I got a mate who, and I'll be nice here because they might actually be traceable based on my social media. I have a mate who works at a supermarket, and I won't name it. And they got given the bleach pouring duty. And they also have, like, it's not just pouring bleach, they also lock them. Like, so they open them, pour bleach on them, close them, and lock them, essentially. And so they told me that they have a fucking assistant manager comes and stands whenever they unlock the bins to make sure that they don't take anything before putting it in the bin and pouring bleach on it. Because if you want to take something, you have to use your staff discount.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. My partner's sister is the same. Yeah, you can't just take food at the end of the day, even if it's going out of date. You have to pay half price or something for it.
I genuinely thought you were going to say they locked the bins to keep Keir Starmer out of them. I was like, what is going on?
Sinan, are you okay? Are you
okay,
mate?
For the listeners and for the people I'm podcasting with, I had the vaccine yesterday. I had to read the book that we're going to be talking about in a bit and had the vaccine, all right? I am not doing very well.
Full Pfizer Phillips madness.
To be fair, having an assistant manager for the bins is maybe the most British position possible.
Yeah, remember when the assistant manager was hard?
But yeah, I mean, it's not just so, like in the UK, I tried to look up some numbers. It's hard to get like a full fix on them because they're not always up to date, and they haven't always been up to date, certainly since COVID. But it hovers somewhere between 8 and 10% food insecure, and that essentially means you don't always know where your next meal is coming from. And like after COVID now, 22% of all Italians now live in poverty. They live below the poverty line. 22% of everybody in Italy. So that's another country that's going to do very well.
Mamma mia.
And I was talking a bit earlier about America as well. And food bank use in the US is up 55% post-COVID, and 45 million people are now food insecure. I think that's almost 1 in 6, or maybe 1 in 7 now. If you're talking about the United States.
Has anyone considered how hard done by the landlords are?
Every second of every single day, Jamie.
Yeah.
God, every day I have to see a fucking landlord post. That's it. That's it. Not even about anything specific. Like, it still enrages me no matter what it is.
The thing is, like, this problem is very likely to become much worse. There's currently a huge spike in food prices. It's booming.
You say that, Rob. You say it's all doom and gloom. But from what I hear, the grapes of Wrath are doing quite well. Really strong vintage coming along.
That's true. The microclimate for the grapes of Wrath is very good, and it's a banger. It's going to be a vintage year for sure.
Yeah, much anticipating the wine of Wrath.
Okay, I want that bottle now. I need like a label of that on a bottle.
Interesting. It's blood red.
Yeah. My favourite kind of wine. Angel Rentals.
Yeah, you open the bottle with a small guillotine.
Actually, you can get a fairly sophisticated contraption to like decant port, so none of the particulates that the sediment in the bottom doesn't come out with the port.
Shut up.
But yeah, the reason food prices are booming, it's not just the usual like stock market shenanigans. It's partly because there's really severe droughts. The American plains, like the harvests are down, I think 20, maybe 40%. That's one of the key like bread areas of the world, essentially.
Who's responsible for that?
I wonder what could be causing the droughts. Can't figure it out.
Gay marriage, I think, is what we're going for.
Well, it's because all the rain fell in Europe this year. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Europe has more gay marriage than America. Therefore, the rain fell in Europe. That's how it works, right?
Everyone in Europe is wet.
Yeah. So the prediction, I think, of the FAO is that food prices in general could rise by almost 5% by the end of next year. So if you're already food insecure and like sort of teetering on the edge, that's not going to be good news. This is all going to be interestingly compounded by the other thing that
when contradictions heighten.
Yeah, that's what we call the good news zone, I think.
Yeah, but the good news is that the good news though is that bleach is down. So who's losing really?
So, I mean, the one last thing that I wanted to talk about is sort of a slightly related question, which is, well, how's the food going to get to the supermarket near you anyway?
Oh, no.
It won't because there isn't any. We just covered that.
Yeah. The UK logistics...
Just get some stout men to eat it.
Yeah. That's how they used to do it back in the day before lorries.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're a bit short
were hard.
We're a bit short on yeeters. We're short 100.
Short on what, Rob?
It's a job. Don't complain.
it's honest work, okay?
Are we doing Rob for pronouncing words we've just made up?
It's just made up.
So the UK logistics industry is about 100,000 lorry drivers short, and the supply chains are really starting to get cracked and fucked at this point. Primarily it's food and retail because they have very just-in-time supply chains, so they need the lorries to come all the time, just in time to make sure the food supermarkets are full. But the farming industry and construction is not far behind. But this is not like a COVID-only problem. Even before COVID, the shortage was standing at about 60,000 lorry drivers. That's mainly because a large part of the lorry drivers before were non-UK drivers, many of whom went home due to COVID, and because they're not listed as skilled workers. If you now want to come and work as a UK lorry driver, you need the full set of immigration paperwork, which of course none of them have, and it's really difficult to get, and it costs a lot of money. So, that's why we're just desperately short.
I'm going to hazard a guess that if you're like a fully qualified HGV driver, your annual income is going to be less than the 30 grand or whatever the fuck it is a year you need to skip the queue. So that's I'm sure that there are no other contradictions in our society that are going to come to the fore in the foreseeable future.
That's why 3,000 lorry drivers are threatening to go on strike on August 23rd because of the low pay and shitty working conditions. So, there is that.
It's a fucking hard job. Yeah, they should be paid more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fucking do that job. Yeah, pay them more, man.
If we're short of lorry drivers, we should get on Twitch and just draft everyone who's playing Euro Truck Simulator.
Okay, but I'm going to play that at some point, so no, because I can't drive. Don't do this to me.
Well, I mean, Jamie, you're not far wrong, because to overcome this shortage, the government has already significantly...
Are you seriously about to fucking tell me the government is going to do the last Starfighter but for lorry drivers?
Yes. This is perfect.
I genuinely am in favour of this plan, if only because it means we get to see Limmy being a truck driver. Preferably live streaming it.
Judging by some of the stuff he did when he was playing it, I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
The government has already significantly eased the difficulty. You need to get a qualification for HGVs. And they've already cut a bunch of technical measures. That,
you have a minimum number of hours in Euro Truck Simulator has been lowered.
Well, there is also additional hours because what they've also done is if you're an existing HGV driver, there's a max normally of 9 hours a day which you're allowed to drive an HGV. But now twice a week you can drive 11 hours a day. So this is making the existing pool of drivers more exhausted, and I can't see anything that could possibly
Well,
go
what they
wrong
need
there.
what they need to do is have those drivers live stream their journeys on a certain popular like streaming platform, and have chat spend bits to play like Inception horns at them as they start to nod off.
Look out, the oncoming lane.
The chat plays bits to play my Keith drop, where I'm getting a blowjob drop out of the windows.
I'm just remembering that startup that was making hats for truckers, that if they started to nod off, they would
fuck
start
those
making
guys.
loud noises.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck those guys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is. No, Jamie's right. It is far funnier if you can just pay like 200 bits for the old. And just make them fucking shit themselves awake. That's perfect.
Well, I mean, the government has a slightly different answer. Is they have put all the qualified HGV drivers in the army on reserve, and they are being put out to like do medical transport.
Putting them
but
in the
also
army
food
is an
transport.
interesting choice.
Can I just check something, David? Can I check? Am I correct in thinking that if you learn to drive HGV in the army, it's a much lower bar than if you learn it in civilian space? Am I correct in that?
Probably from memory, any driving test that you do, I don't know if they still do it this way, but for the like, standard driving test, they would just get you to drive around the base, and then they would pass you off, and then you would have like a driving license that was also a civilian driving license, which is obviously massively fucking inadequate.
That's completely good. I
dare say the HGV stuff is a little bit more, if only because it means that you can get like a proper course out of it, and if there's a course in it, it means those instructors can make time off it, and someone can feel important about it. So probably the HGV
The
stuff isn't quite as
HGV
bad.
drill sergeant is yelling at me to get off of Twitch and get into my truck.
I mean, but
Yeah,
the
I
bigger
just had-
problem is that
I
even
just had a vision of the papers running like a sort of like scare article about Euro Truck Simulator because they worry that Al Qaeda is like training people to do like vehicular 9/11 on it.
But wait, we're literally getting the army in, is what's happening here.
But I mean, there's a
A
slight.
second truck has hit the distribution centre.
This
Well, I
is
mean,
the
there's a
Daily
s-
Mail's dream. They're
there's a
getting
s-
the army in.
There's a slight problem with getting the army in because even if you add in all the qualified HGV drivers that the army has, there's only 2,000 of them, and we're 100,000 short.
So what the
So
fuck's
you're
the
saying
point?
we're going to invade the trucks, and then we're not going to be sufficient, so we will need a surge for our invasion of the trucks. Is that where we're basically going with
war
this?
crimes to the trucks.
What we need is longer trucks.
Yes.
Jamie, I believe they're called trains.
Now if only we'd invested in that infrastructure.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, they're basically communists, so it's never going to happen.
We have them in Australia. You can, I mean, along with the immigration point system, we can import those Australian, I think they're called road trains. They are like HGVs with like six or seven
Are you
lorry
thinking of
loads
Mad
behind
Max again?
No, he's not. Here's
No,
the
these are
thing,
real
though.
things.
I can't
those
wait for the Mad
only-
Max universe to be real, so I can play a guitar with a flamethrower on it while we chase a dude down.
Literally everyone thinks they'd get to be the Doof Warrior in the apocalypse, and it's like
Absolutely.
they don't need that many of the fuckers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a saturated market, really.
It's a job for life. That
I'm very content to be the bleached skeleton in the desert sun. I'm volunteering for that position.
you only get to like ride the Doof wagon if your dad rode the Doof wagon.
I'm afraid there's nothing for you but being the spray paint inspector.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry, but no one
It's
here
a
is going to be
living.
the Doof son.
the one good news to come out of this is that at least so far as the big supermarkets are concerned, all of them except Co-op for some reason are like offering like significant like cash bonuses and much higher pay and better conditions. So that's not that bad. The only thing that I thought was just the usual fucking embarrassment is that Tesco, apart from offering more money, is also telling its HGV recruits that they will be Tesco's ambassador on the road.
Oh god, some fucking marketing dipshit is so proud of that, and I hate
No,
them.
that's HR. That's for sure. That's some fucking HR clown.
I'm just picturing a truck, like, you know what I mean, like barreling down the motorway. The driver's asleep, and he's got like a small car pinned across the front of his like engine as he's just steaming down, and people are screaming everywhere. But there's like a guy handing out Ferrero Rocher.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, I mean,
Ambassador, with your T-boning my car, you're really spoiling me.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, I mean, look forward to higher food prices and empty shelves. Certainly a combination of things that, if I remember my history correct, has only led to good outcomes for everybody involved.
Nothing bad has ever happened as a result of that. Never.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to history teachers, nothing bad has ever happened. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we had like World Scuffle 2 and we won it. Do you know what I mean? And it was great and everyone fucking thought it was class. That's all they teach in British schools. Do you know what I mean? History was just an endless procession of how great the British are, and nobody ever had hard feelings.
Yeah, well, I remember particularly there was that World War I Christmas kick around.
Yeah,
that was that thing.
That was
where
literally
everyone came together.
The full 4 years of the war was that one fucking like football match.
Yeah, they were playing to see who won the war. That's what was going on, right? Like,
and thus the World Cup was born.
Yeah.
I think it's after World War I that they changed the rules of football, that people no longer have to die to be subbed out on the pitch. I think that's how it works.
Are you confusing football with Blood Bowl?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like,
it would be so much a better game if it was just Blood Bowl.
Should we just sack this episode off and go play Blood Bowl?
Yeah,
no, we're going to read from the book.
No, we will not. We will not.
Almost got away with it.
Dude, even I was tempted. I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like,
no, because Sinan and I have done. This is the worst thing by a mile that I've ever done for this podcast.
It feels like every week is the worst thing you've ever done.
Yeah,
so
I think you're bigging this up too much now. It's just going to be all right. I think.
I think
everyone's just going to listen to it and go like, yeah, that wasn't too bad. Do you know what I mean?
Sinan, do you want to read the introductory paragraph that we discussed? That I think sets the tone very well.
Does somebody's dick rattle around on someone's teeth like a shower drop in the bath?
Wait! I need to remember what paragraph this was.
You know, the problem is, even if this is absolutely terrible, right? If me, Jamie, and Alistair all go on strike, they've brought a scab in, like, so they'll still be able to continue.
See, when Rob says he's got that paragraph on him, I'm going to assume it's tattooed on him like the guy from Cape Fear.
No, I've turned my body into Prison Break, except it's quotes from Jess Philips' new book.
And he's got a Polaroid that says, "Don't believe her lies."
Yeah. So,
anyone know any other films where people have shit tattooed all over their bodies that we want to reference?
Red Dragon.
Yeah. Except Red Dragon shit, so let's move on. Manhunter instead.
Anyway, so Sin and I have read, and we will spend quite a lot of the coming time discussing the new book by Jess Philips, Everything You Really Need to Know About Politics. It is 300 pages in the hardcover, and I did a quick word count. In 300 pages in the hardcover, there are 2,076 mentions of the word I. The word me is in there 398 times, and the word my is in there 683 times. So, by rough count, that's at least 6 to 10 I, me's, and my's per page of this book.
That was kind of low.
We've reached a singularity of self-referential pronouns.
Hey, I'll say this for her. At least you know she actually wrote it. This isn't a ghostwriter.
Oh no, I have thoughts about why this is definitely the case.
Oh no.
But just to give you a taster, let me just give you a flavour of what's to come in this book. I'll read you this very good paragraph from the introduction. At times, Westminster is less a palace of legislation and more a real-life simulation of Bowser's castles in Super Mario. Luckily, I spent the entire summer holiday of 1992 smashing Super Mario Bros. 3 on the original Nintendo at my mate Bryony's place. If only crushing the big boss in Parliament was as simple as jumping on his head 3 times. But
was Super Mario Bros. 3 out for the original Nintendo? Because the word "super" in front of the title suggests to me that it was on like the second Nintendo.
No, 3 was on the first. Bowser wasn't easy.
Jamie, the resident fact checker.
Bowser was an easy foe to slay in comparison to the years of ingrained privilege and entitlement that currently grip the politics of our country. A pair of Italian plumbers would have very little chance of smashing it, and as for Princess Peach, she would fell as well in Westminster as she does in the game.
See, now, the interesting thing about this is if she just played Super Mario Bros. 1, right, the very first one, she'd have learned that it's very easy to kill Bowser if you just use an axe.
We have confirmed that Jess Philips is in fact a gamer, which does explain some of the racism issues, I imagine. So,
Well, she's also a Harry Potter fan. The Palace of Westminster.
Of course she is.
I'm gonna bet that she considers herself a fucking Gryffindor, doesn't she?
I mean, ultimately, who cares on that front? I'm sorry.
I want you to see what Westminster is really like, so you don't think it's a fiction like Hogwarts, and that members of Parliament are neither all evil like Voldemort, nor perfect like Hermione Granger.
Perfect like Hermione Granger.
it's very obvious who she thinks she is.
Yes, it's incredibly obvious.
I took actual psychic damage from that one.
I told
God
you.
damn.
I told you. Like,
I warned you, bro. I warned you.
This is what happens when you read from the book. Now, before we get fully started on the book, I want to place 2 caveats at the start.
We're not started on the book.
no, this is the
I want to say 2 things quite genuinely. That every time she talks specifically about her work on violence against women, she seems incredibly real and passionate and heartfelt. So, we won't make jokes about that or question her integrity on her work there, because
we will, however, make the caveat that what her definition of women is does not align with the definition of women that we have.
Yes, that is certainly, yeah. But the work she does there is incredibly... She seems very genuine when she talks about that, and she does seem to have a good head on that.
But we do not got to hand it to her.
No, but we do not got to hand it to her.
She does good work again on violence against some women.
Yeah. Yes.
And the other thing that I wanted to say is there are some descriptions in this book about some of the violence, both online and certainly in person, meted out to her and her staff. That seems fucking horrifying and what the fuck? And whilst we will spend the rest of this book slagging off this book, and we should and we will, there are limits, and what some things are not broadly acceptable. Having got that out of the way, I had a question for you, Sinan, right before we started recording. I don't know if you've had some thoughts about this, which is my question: who is this for? Who is the intended audience of this book? Because it's something I haven't been able to work out.
Me.
Well, apparently it's this podcast, but it's not many people. I'll give it, judging from the quality of the writing, it's not going to be many people.
Is the answer, and I think that I'm going to ask this question quite a lot, is the answer Jess Philips?
I was going to say, if it's not Jess Philips, it's Jess Philips' close personal friends who will get to be like, look, my mate's got a book.
I was going to say Mitch Ben.
Is it?
Probably, yes.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Is it Jess Philips because this is a book that whether or not it sells, she will have been paid for as part of her reward that she gets for being the person she is in the system that we have? Is that the answer?
Well, in a sense, yes.
Yes. in a material sense,
does it
for
not
sure.
have? Does the book not have one of those bits inside, the first couple of pages, where it tells you who it's for?
Oh, the acknowledgements, those are at the end.
Those are horrifying, by the way.
Yeah, the bit that's at the start, that's at the start is the people who have commented on the book about how great it is, and it's just a fucking cursed set of people.
Yeah, it's the people named giving glowing quotes for her previous works are Robert Webb, Gabby Hinsliff, Caitlin Moran, and Stylist Magazine for some fucking reason.
I didn't even know there was a Stylist Magazine.
Stylist Magazine is one of those ones they give out for free at train stations.
I don't believe you, Sinan. With that hair of yours, you read Stylist Magazine.
I've never heard of Stylist Magazine, but they're not coming across well in that company.
No, yeah.
I mean, I think it's for somebody who reads Grazia or something, upper middle class Grazia readers. I think that's
No, it's not. It is literally given away free at train stations. It's your evening metro, basically.
Yeah, I can see that.
And since we mentioned him, Robert Webb can get to fuck.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. In an ideal world, an overly tired lorry driver would just plough into him at a crossing somewhere.
By accident, I'm sure.
Well, Twitch chat desperately played Inception horns at the guy.
One of the big things this book keeps trying to and how she writes it, is that Jess Philips wants you to know that she's normal. Jess Philips is just like you. She's normal. And that's very important. Very normal. She's
Not in the normal island sense. Well, actually, I guess it is, given that she's your like now.
John Cena voice, are you sure about that?
But there's this constant repetition of, I go home on the weekends and sometimes I get pissed and I post funny photos on my Instagram and I'm Babs, I'm the woman down in the pub and, it's all that shit.
I hang out with that prick in the top hat who has like the fucking old lady follow him everywhere in case he needs sucked off in a hurry.
Only mentioned like twice, that dude, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's twice more than any book I would choose to read.
Yeah. To be fair, I think this smacks very strongly of I have studied Keir Starmer's candidacy very closely and come to the understanding that people find him unrelatable. Look, I'm relatable. Is that about right?
I mean, she's been like this forever.
Yeah, this is she's like an authentocrat through and through, and this is like the like magnum opus of authentocracy, I guess.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That is not a phrase I ever wanted to hear.
Sorry, everyone. This is what people bring me onto shit for.
Yeah.
That.
I mean, shall we just get stuck into the introduction?
Please,
Sinan?
fucking God, can we
Can
we get through this book?
So she starts by writing some shit, essentially why I'm involved in politics, and she gives 4 reasons as to why she's involved in politics.
Is one of them council pop?
Nope.
First, one of them will not surprise you.
The first of them is I wanted to change the world. Just because someone took away your benefits doesn't mean there's suddenly a cushy job waiting for you, one that you're qualified for and that you can get to, and that works around your childcare.
Is this something to do with wanting to change the world?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking I hadn't had a stroke there. You know what I mean? Because that just didn't seem to.
Many of my conservative colleagues do think that, and it's not because they hate the poor. They genuinely think that being tougher on low-income families will help them.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
No, they fucking don't. They genuinely don't think like...
Absolute fucking rude.
No, for real. Like, she's just like... My like primary note on this entire thing is Jess Philips is fucking stupid.
Yeah, she is pretty fucking stupid. Yeah.
This book convinced me more than anything that she's a fucking idiot.
Hang on. So you don't think she's playing like an angle here? She's not trying to convince people. She just genuinely, honestly believes this shit.
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't open up my book with I have fully fallen for an ancient ruse that everyone knows to be false.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't open with that if I was going to try and pitch myself as someone who should
one of
be
the other
listened
reasons
to.
she lists for wanting to be...
The impression I've got of her so far from this book is that she's British politics as Ralph Wiggum.
But bafflingly, she also says... one of the reasons that she wants to be in politics is because she comes out and says, I wanted a career in politics. But
oh my...
But the thing is, we fucking knew.
She just said it.
Yeah, my God.
She just said it.
So wait, she wanted a career in politics because she wanted a career in politics?
Yes, and because she wanted to change the world, because she grew up politically, and blah, blah.
You see why I think she's stupid?
The first rule of Tautology Club.
Wait till you hear some of the chapter titles, man.
Yeah, fuck me. I mean, but bafflingly, right after she says, I wanted a career in politics, she says, right, blah, blah, blah. She's writing right after she's elected. I had no particular sense of mission or clear plan for the future. I just wanted to be a worker ant in the halls of change.
In the halls of change?
What?
Yes.
The halls of change.
Yes.
God, I can feel my organs rearranging having to reread this. Jesus Christ.
Definitely.
Jess Philips' book impregnated Sinan.
Definitely the halls, not the halls of change. The halls of change.
Not the hall. HALLS, not the halls.
Okay, right, fair enough then. Yeah.
I was sorry, for a second there, I was picturing like the Amygdala Fault style, like this hole was made for me.
But it's, I mean,
They go in naive and like hopeful and wanting to make change, and they come out Jacob Rees-Mogg akin, you know.
I mean,
Jesus.
yes, it's not a bad analogy for
I
Parliament.
mean, or she's one of those ants that's been infected by the cordyceps fungus that's just like standing at the edge of the leaf waiting for themselves.
waiting for a Tory to come along and co-opt them.
I wanted to be involved in the seed pod of politics.
So there's this baffling contradiction already in the introduction, which is like, I have a sense of
It's
high
not just the
purpose.
contradiction that's baffling, to be honest. Like,
I have a sense of high purpose. I wanted to be in politics. I want to do important things there, but I don't know what it is to do. And my highest ambition, she's like a Lib Dem. Like, she wants to be in the halls of change, but she doesn't. But in second place.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's wanting to have power for power's sake, not arrive there with any particular interest in wielding it in someone.
It is extremely. I want the status.
Yeah, but I mean, she does want to do things, and like one of the things that she keeps hammering on, and I'll read a bit for you, including the first footnote, because as Sin and I have discussed, there's real horror hidden in the footnotes, and you have to get some of them. And so she's really on like, this book is meant to demystify politics and make it real and make it actual, so you normal plebs can understand what it's like to be an MP. All right. Mm-hmm. Too many people think that all politicians are morally bankrupt gold diggers who spend all their times on yachts with newspaper editors and tech lobbyists, because that's the stuff that makes the headlines. No wonder we are one of the most hated professions in the country. And here she does a thing that she'll do again and again in this book. She'll bring up unnamed random people who walk up to her and say very apt things. A woman in my local Greggs once said to me while serving me a steak.
oh, shut the fuck
piss
up! Like,
off.
you know what I mean? Unless she's about to tell the "I was being racist in Greg's" anecdote?
No.
Then like this didn't fucking happen.
I want to know what her Greg's order is.
A woman.
What is her actual basic Greg's
She wasn't
order?
allowed to order anything.
No,
They threw her
no,
out for being racist.
No, she will specify her Greg's order in the footnote. A woman in my local Greg's once said to me while serving me a steak bake, "I guess I, the taxpayer, am paying for this steak bake. I'm afraid to tell you, dear reader."
No one says that. No one.
I am afraid to tell you, dear reader, that parliamentary expenses do not cover my steak bakes. The only taxpayer who funds my steak bakes is me. But then your salary...
That's not even what that means. My god.
Yeah, I wonder what MP salaries are paid out of.
Yeah, I mean, famously MP salaries are just paid from a mysterious magic money tree that is unrelated to anything else. I mean, I guess it may as well be at this point.
And then here's the
further entrenching the fact that Jess Philips doesn't know a fucking thing about the economy.
It's so stupid, because if she wanted, like, hang on, surely if you were writing this for the purpose she appears to be writing it, you'd have them say something like, "I suppose you'll get to expense this then." And then go, "Sadly, reader, we do not get to expense things. It's paid from my salary." That'd be a more... just fuck me. Right now I'm starting to get angry. This is good. Let's go.
Can I just say,
keep going.
I want to add a note here, which is that this very obviously has not been edited. Or has been edited very poorly and they made off with her money.
Yeah,
so, like,
it's incredibly irritating. Like, Sin and I both really wanted to just, like, edit this book because there's just really baffling shit in it all the time. But I'll just read you the footnote, because like I said, there's horrors hiding in the footnote. Added footnote. Other bakes are available from other outlets, but let's face it, you cannot beat a Greggs steak bake. When the Greggs opened at Westminster Station, it was genuinely more an event for those in Parliament than the Queen's speech at the opening of Parliament.
I love to read a fucking book of Facebook posts by my nan.
A Westminster office is now considered incomplete without a half-eaten pack of yum-yums in it. See, they're just normal
Do you know what it
people.
is like? Does she want to reel off any more things they sell in Greggs to prove how like down with the fucking working man she is?
I kind of like the pizza from Greggs, to be fair. So, like, I don't know.
I'll eat literally any shit from Greggs. It's fucking great.
Yeah,
I just don't believe for a second that she does.
I live like 4 minutes from 2 Greggs, so
Greggs is great. It's just not hers.
No, Greggs is not great. Greggs stopped doing the macaroni pie. They've been dead to
And
me
you've
since.
just never forgiven them, David?
No, I've not, and I never will. Bring back the macaroni pie.
If we could get you original Iron Brew and a macaroni pie, would you die happy?
I fucking would, by the way. I would actually actively fucking kill myself straight after having that to ensure that I died on the fucking highest note possible.
This is just rapidly turning into a fucking Facebook group, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, this is what and that woman in Greg's name was Albert Einstein. Remember when you used to be able to get the macaroni pie like dipped in Iron Brew? The
amount of
90s
references.
kids will remember this.
Very unhappy with the amount of Harry Potter references in this bit.
Yeah, it's sadly disappointing. There's also only 2 direct West Wing references, which is less than I thought there would be. So shall we? We'll move then on, I think, to Chapter 1. People care about potholes.
That wasn't even fucking chapter 1.
No, that was the introduction. Chapter 1 is called "People Care About Potholes."
Can we have a break halfway through for me to get another bottle of pills out the
Yes,
cupboard?
we will. Break has actually been planned into this episode.
Rob, what was the title of the chapter again?
Yeah, let me try that again. The chapter of title 1 is, and all the chapter titles are ghastly, is "People Care About Potholes, getting elected."
So you see why I wanted to edit this book.
I mean, I don't feel like any of us owe Jess Philips much, if anything.
No. So she tells some very, very like basic story about her being normal in her normal Birmingham home, and she's just called by the Labour Selection Committee and said, "We're picking you to be our candidate," and she yells downstairs to her normal husband, the lift engineer, about whom much more later. And he's watching telly, and he shouts, "Should I run for Parliament?" And he shouts back something like, "Yeah, whatever, sure, do it." Little did she know that her life was about to change forever.
Oh my god!
What year was this?
2015 or 14,
2015.
presumably.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah.
So, like, Labour's lowest ebb
Yes.
was when they selected her, then, was it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think the lowest ebb is yet to come, to be fair. So,
yeah, up
to
till
date.
that point. Yeah.
If David has anything to say about it.
So it's just guff about, am I the right person to do this? Should I do this? Even though I've just told you in the previous chapter that I've wanted my whole life to be in politics, and this is my big dream. Blah, blah, blah.
I've got a feeling that all the questions she asks in this book can be like solidly answered with a no.
And then, bafflingly, what you don't see coming, what I think is very hard to see coming unless you read this book, she then spends several pages talking about why it's a bad idea to send dick pics.
yeah.
Oh, all right then. I mean,
Yes, this is a strangely horny book. I don't like it.
oh,
I won't lie, everyone.
why? Why is the book strangely horny?
Like, there are a lot of references to like dick pics and like her husband being attractive. Which, I mean, I googled the husband because there's a footnote that pissed me off. Would you believe? Specifically written to piss me off, and we'll get to it. But like. I'm
fully embracing the energy of Ralph Wiggum in a focus group right now.
And so, like, the thing you get is there's two, if you follow the logic of Jess Philips, there's 2 reasons to run for MP. You want to make the world a better...
I'm sorry, I want to hear more about the dick pic.
You want to make the world a better place, or you have a kink for public exposure, and the reason you send dick pics to people is because you secretly want to get caught. She says kink, I don't.
She says that's the word. Yeah, that's a quote. I'm not even kidding. That's a quote.
Oh, fucking hell.
We shouldn't have read the book.
Sorry, so hang on. Who is sending the dick pics, but she's saying it's a bad idea?
Male MPs, presumably Tories. That's sort of how...
I get the read that this is a reference to a specific group of MPs who have done this. Like, that's the read I'm getting from this.
I think it's like metaphorically there are 2 types of MPs. There's the hard-working, honest kind who eat at Greg's and talk about council pop, and then there's the kind that just view being an MP as sending the entire nation a dick pic.
Congratulations, you are a better writer than Jess Philips.
Yeah.
Was that
You could have saved us a lot of pain if that had just been the fucking book. Like,
I genuinely, like, I don't know if Jamie has ever written a book or anything like it, but I guarantee you he's a better writer than Jess Philips is.
You don't know? Could you not take an educated guess at that?
I could guess, having read this book. There are children who are better writers than Jess Philips.
Yeah, so she says, we had to take a lot of risks to run because we had to spend like a lot of our own money and lost income when I was campaigning, and it costs a lot of money. She says it costs 35k to run for elections, and other people, specifically male Tories, don't have those risks because they have a lot of money, so they can just do it for funsies, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's why she fucking inhaled 70 grand when she ran for leader for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
But what are 20 minutes? Like it was well worth.
It was a well-funded 20 minutes.
Yeah, like to watch her collapse basically upon contact with any scrutiny, and then write a Guardian piece about how unfair the method of scrutiny was.
No, that was
a chef kiss. Like
the specifics of that Guardian article were amazing because it was written the day after she just face planted at a hustings with the other candidates. Like she'd just done really piss poor, and then the next day she wrote an article in the Guardian about how hustings are stupid and people shouldn't have to do them. It was really frustrating.
Yeah. Like the problem she has is that she's as thick as pig shit.
Yeah, but she doesn't know.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but that's the problem. Like it's like, you know,
and
all the Tories,
if you try and tell her, she'll act like you're abusing her, even though it's a statement of fact that she's thick as pig shit. Like,
all the Tories, like Rees Mogg and everyone, think she's great because she's like easily manipulated.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she thinks she thinks that like they just think she's great, and
Yeah.
and all the papers constantly bigged her up while Corbyn was leader.
Yeah.
It was here's Jess Philips, the sense talking like northern woman who eats at Greg's, and
the northern woman from Birmingham, famously.
Yeah.
No, I think you'll find she's the honourable member for Dunning-Kruger. Certainly.
But like the press,
she practically admits talking shite at various points in this.
Yeah.
like,
the
she's
press
just like,
spent
I fully
4
don't know
years.
anything.
They spent 4 years telling her she was mint because she kept saying, like, you know, I'd stab Corbyn in the fucking eyes, and I told Diane Abbott to fuck off, and all this other horse shit.
Which she didn't actually do.
Yeah, and the press, like, just loved that, and she genuinely thought that was... She couldn't see that was just because she was fucking useful. And do you know what I mean? So she just goes through life thinking that the praise she gets from the press because she's useful to them, and the praise she gets from like Jacob Rees-Mogg because her idiocy is useful to him, is genuine praise, and that she's great, and that when she goes to a hustings, she doesn't have to know anything. She'll just naturally do well because people fucking love her.
Yeah.
And then when that isn't true, she's just like, you know what I mean, incredibly put out about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 whole chapters on dealing with the press coming later, and like it is abundantly clear that she has no conception whatsoever that she's the useful idiot. But just to come back to the how to get elected, so the first big bit of advice that we give is don't send dick pics, and the other big bit of advice that she has is leaflets are really important, like really important. She's mad about leaflets, and
I mean,
I bet she's handed out some racist fucking leaflets in her time.
I mean, if you're Jess
Specifically with
Philips,
the word incursion on them.
Yeah. There is an I in incursion.
if you're Jess Philips, the way you get elected is by sitting in a seat that's held by the Lib Dems in the wake of them going into coalition with the fucking Tories. I mean, come on.
And one of the other things you get throughout this book is these snippets where you get just her titanic levels of self-regard. So let me read you a little bit again, and this is in reference to the leaflets. I wish that having a cracking Facebook page, a whip-smart Twitter account, and a good email list was enough to properly reach all the people
we all love a good email list, don't we?
In my constituency. Right. But it isn't yet. People like to see you with potholes.
That's not the fucking job of an MP. That's your local council.
But that does absolutely generate the best pictures in local papers. See, local people angry at pothole is a fucking amazing genre of picture. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I mean,
it's so good.
It's a very, very
and
beautiful piece of art.
It's absolutely the level of acknowledgement and like perception that Jess Philips should be afforded as person angry with pothole. No more.
Like,
I would
here's
also...
the thing: bins and potholes. It's not what they actually are; it's what they signify. And what they signify is, I'm going to demean myself to deal with this tedious bullshit that minorly irritates you, and make myself your servant.
Yeah.
And the public seems to like that.
I mean, she genuinely.
she mentions it. She genuinely has. There's genuinely an anecdote where she like has her husband run an errand, basically, like for a voter. It's
Yeah, she. I think she literally, Sinan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's literally a line in this chapter where something like, "What if whatever government offered a national tree pruning service, they would win in an election every single time."
and I'm like,
Oh, fuck
yeah,
off.
and I'm like, first of all, yes, they should offer that fucking service. There's so much shit in here where she's like, oh, well, there isn't a service to do this. And I'm like, well, shouldn't there fucking be? Like,
No, there
doesn't it
shouldn't.
strike you as, like...
No, there shouldn't, because you can't dream too big. You always have to meet in the middle.
If you give people services and do your fucking job and are useful, that's just like fantasy unicorn land.
Yeah.
And everyone knows the real politics is for the grown-ups who make the difficult decisions, which sounds so fucking difficult to just go, well, let's get elected and then never do fucking anything.
And then
Yeah. There's also a bit in this chapter where she seems to somewhat imply that she's comparable to AOC.
yes,
No.
Oh, fucking, that is
Yes, of course she
disgusting,
does.
especially when fucking Zara Sultana exists.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I liked that a lot.
yeah. So I mean, and that's the AOC thing is essentially in reference to her third point, and that's like the end of the chapter is like. You have to. Politicians have to have a brand, and you have to embody that brand because being a brand is important. And she's like, "Jeez,
And what if the brand could be me?"
yes, what?
Yes. She's insanely jealous of, like, there's a bit, she's insanely jealous of the fact that, like, AOC does, like, live streams where she's in her kitchen or whatever, or goes on Twitch. She's, like, insanely jealous of that. And to that, all I have to say is, Jess Philips, if you would like to come on my Twitch, my DMs are open. And we
Jess
can...
Phillips, go on Sinan's Twitch from your kitchen and cook a microwave lasagna.
No, she has to specifically cook the Turkish chicken dessert. I will accept nothing less than that.
You know, Sinan, if you can't get actual Jess Phillips, I'm pretty sure I know a performer who'd be willing to come on your stream for reasonable rates.
I'm already, as we discussed, perhaps planning to hire a performer to play a certain other political figure. So,
All right.
but I need to get paid first for that. So,
Chapter 2, Get Out the Vote, why your vote counts. Another great fucking title.
it's just
Did that really need the colon?
No,
I
it
mean,
didn't.
No.
you don't need either. You can have either part of that, and it would be fine. You don't need both bits.
Yeah, and then it's all fairly boxed.
No, but you see, the first rule of editing is that you should never, like, cut back on
You
things.
should add
always
more
just
words, yeah.
You should always do all the ideas at once.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's fairly bog standard stuff about, make sure you transport people, ring them to get out, blah, blah, blah. And then, much like the weird dick pic digression, there's, I think it's like 3 or 8 pages worth of where she goes on about ballot spoiling and drawing dicks on the ballots.
Yeah, she's very focused on she's very clear that if there was a dick drawn in the ballot box for her and the vote was close, she wants that.
Yeah.
She wants it bad. I've done that on purpose, so
Now, let's be clear. That's a universal thing for every party.
yes.
My favourite one is genuinely this happened in an election. Some guy in Scotland, some legend, went down the ballot and put SNP wank, Labour wank, Tory wank, Scottish Greens good guy, Lib Dem wank, and that got counted as a vote for the Scottish Greens.
I mean, there was a clear preference expressed, I think. in that,
oh, was
so-
it which party was it that someone wrote a swastika in the
box.
in the box and it got counted, and they were like, "Yeah, we want that. We want that."
It was the Tories.
Yeah,
it was the Tories.
of course.
Unsurprisingly.
I mean, this baffling disquisition about spoiled ballot, and it just goes on and on, and it's just
Also,
like...
there's this interesting... One of the interesting things is the pop culture references, because she's talking about Taylor Swift and all that in this chapter as well. Which, like, I don't know.
Hello, fellow
I
kids.
think it's partly because there's nothing really interesting about vote counting. Like, I have been all up in that bullshit. There's nothing really interesting. The highlight of the evening is looking at the spoiled ballots.
I mean,
that's pretty much it.
But then there's a lot of garbage, but sometimes like the ideology and the way she thinks like society not only is organized but should be organized, and how she organizes herself as well, and it becomes incredibly clear like what kind of like how very like middle of the road she is. And she talks a bit.
I mean, the thing is,
she talks a little bit about like if you vote, you're on a data sheet of active voters, and politicians get one, so you don't slip through the cracks, and that's how people know how to contact you and send you the all important leaflet. And then she says this: I would like to spend time talking to voters to people who don't vote, to find why they are disenchanted with democracy, but time simply doesn't allow. And this makes our system poorer, in my view, because it pushes people who are disengaged further out of a system that will disaffect their lives. But she just says, well, but I'm not going to chase after you because I don't have the time. I can only focus on the 3 registered swing voters, and that's how you get these insane...
Do you know what would help with that, though? Is having an energized and active and engaged base for your party who could reach those people. Weird. I don't know what happened to that. Like, that would probably help.
Well, Sinan, you could have the best of both worlds. You could have an energized and active base, get elected to Parliament, and then still vote on the or not vote against the Tory welfare bill in 2015. I mean, that's what I want my elected official to do in Parliament to help the working class.
Well, have we got the person for you? And the book written by her.
Yeah. In an election, the power shifts back from a dusty palace in London to your living room, and for as long as I take part in this process, no fancy parade of the Queen in a crown past my office, or a brilliant speech on the steps of Westminster Hall by a US president, or a glitzy award ceremony will ever be as thrilling as you saying to me on election day, "Don't worry, Bab."
An election day only.
Don't worry, Bab. I voted for you on the way to work this morning, so I've done my bit. It is everything I believe. Every late night and time away from my kid, every bad headline disappears on election day, because it is about us doing something together. Cue Sorkin
I'm sorry,
music.
but no fucking bad headline has ever disappeared on election day. Has she ever looked at a newspaper on election day? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, some of the shit, it's like the worst day. Also, this is the chapter with the footnote that was a specific attack on me. And I'm gonna read it, and you're gonna understand. We once received a letter calling for my husband to attend the audition in Birmingham for Britain's Got Talent with his act, Tom's Turkish Dance Extravaganza. To this day, wait. I do not know which of his mates went to the bother of entering him. Which is a phrase. He is often mistaken for being Turkish. However, he has no discernible Turkish dance talent. Excuse me. This is stealing Turkish valor. I'm sorry, I'm not having it. Like, this is unacceptable. And I demand a full apology from her for this.
Why is he often mistaken for being Turkish?
He looks slightly tanned.
Because he's a lift engineer, and all lift engineers are Turkish.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
maybe
actually
he's got
a lift
big
engineer.
kebab knife. I imagine.
This sounds like peak British bloke. This, where it's like, oh, that guy's got like a mustache. He must be Italian. We'll call him Italian Clive. And like fucking, do you know what I mean? When it's his birthday, we'll like just hire a fucking entire like army of pizza guys to turn up. With,
Jamie,
mustaches and fucking chef's hats and that.
Jamie, you're throwing stones in a glass house a little bit when one of your mates has got a nickname based on a pair of shoes he wore like 30 years ago.
Yeah, but that's like, do you know what I mean? That's not like racism, though, is it? Is what I'm getting at.
I suppose not, no.
Well, it depends on the shoes, surely.
Well, yeah, to be fair.
All right, so...
I mean, if a pair of clogs, Rob's within his right to be angry.
The Dutch are never within their right.
No,
yeah,
they are not.
The Dutch are on shaky ground in general, I
Look,
find,
Dutch culture in general is something that should just be burned off the face of this planet, and I'd be mostly okay with it.
But Rob, it's just a harmless Christmas tradition. Come on, like, you know. What's the
Yeah, but I mean, you haven't heard what the postman was called?
All right, so chapter 3. What does an MP do all day? So this is essentially a week in the life.
The answer is fuck all.
Pre-Rona, yeah.
Hang on, no colon.
No. This is the only chapter that's reasonably titled.
Yeah, this is the only one I probably wouldn't edit.
All right, and
probably.
It sort of opens up with, I'll just read it to you because this is just, I mean, Jess Philips is very normal, but she also seems like an absolute delight to live with. On a Monday morning, I wake up in Birmingham. I don't pretend to live in Birmingham. I don't just represent the city. I live here. So I wake up in Birmingham. See, repetition. That's how you know it's well edited. At 6:30 a.m. And like most parents...
So it's to make sure you know that she's from Birmingham.
And just like most parents, I spend the first part of my day endlessly shouting about shoes and PE kit or reading out spellings. Actually, scrap that.
In Birmingham.
Actually, scrap that. That was a lie. If my husband, my Turkish husband, were writing this, he would say...
Husband brackets Turkish.
He would say, you've missed out on the first hour of the day where you lie on your side, annoying me in bed, going through messages and emails on your phone, checking Twitter, reading headlines,
Oh my God, it's a Facebook post again!
And making yourself so stressed out by the time the kids emerge from their rooms at 7:30, you're in a foul mood, and everything we request assistance with is met either with complete silence while you stare at your phone, or you deliver an automatic set of responses such as, in a minute, I'm doing something for work. Jess Philips
She's got poster's
sounds
brain.
delightful.
Poster's brain.
I feel like this literally could just be answered with "inbox me, hun," because it's just the reality of politics is like a rather banal home life, domestic boredom.
See what I want from like what a politician does with their day is some absolutely insane shit. You know, like Marky Mark's exercise fucking thing, where he gets up at like 3 a.m. to pray and stuff like that.
And I mean, again, this is fucking Titanic self-regard. She's talking about how so many times she's called at like 5 or 6 or 7 a.m. by journalists for quotes because they really need the Jess Philips opinion on the day. Every morning when I open my eyes, I have to brace myself for the controversy, hatred, or the need to immediately have an educated opinion about something I've just this second heard about. One of the papers...
Fucking telling on herself again.
She's admitting that she just talks shite all the time. It's fantastic.
And also,
that's how you know it's authentic, because she doesn't know fuck all. Therefore, it's actually fine and it's very relatable. Because that's who you want in fucking Parliament. Is people who don't have a fucking clue of what they're talking about.
At various points, she actually like mentions like specific things she's been asked to talk about, and she's like, "I don't know fucking shit about this." And I'm like, "You could fucking learn."
Yeah, or you could just keep your fucking mouth shut. There's also that, you know. What have the papers found out about today? I am always preparing for my entire career and my family's security to blow up in my face at any minute because of some controversy in Parliament. And then she names
Can I just say, that sounds like she has a secret that is going to come out. That is, you know...
I said, we are always just one story away from losing everything.
Yeah, it's not the fucking story about lying about saying Diana Abbott's fuck off, though, is it?
Well, no, because that's a racism story, and the press is the racist factory.
Yeah.
Can I just say for the record, pretty sure Jeremy Corbyn and a few other MPs who are like all right as people don't have that particular worry hanging over their heads.
And also, like,
just gonna suggest that one maybe.
Also, fuck off with your losing everything. Like, you're well-paid MPs with lots of sinecures and a fucking book deal. Losing everything for most people means being fucking evicted and living on the street. You know, that's not like...
Even if she had, like, a scandal that forced her to resign, I fully believe she'd try and, like, you know, wait for it to blow over. But if that did ever happen, she'd be fucking fine. She'd post for it, but she'd have, like, a year, maybe two, where she's, like, on the naughty step, and then they'd hire her as some kind of lobbyist. Like,
yeah.
So she spent some quality time ignoring her family in Birmingham, and she's now on the way from Birmingham, because she lives in Birmingham. That's where she lives. It's not a joke. She lives in Birmingham. And she's on the train from Birmingham.
Jess Philips, everything you wanted to know about politics and where I live in Birmingham, brackets.
Take a little walk to the edge of town and keep fucking walking. Leave Birmingham, go away. God damn it.
So she explains, and I don't know why, but she explains why she doesn't take calls when she's on the train down to London from Birmingham. I won't beat myself too much about this, because even if I tried to take a call or use the internet on the West Coast main line, after 3 seconds I would be rudely reminded that although humankind put a man on the moon 22 years before I was born, we cannot make the Wi-Fi on a train actually work. Long may it peacefully continue.
God bless those fucking trains that prevent her from posting.
Well,
yeah.
Isn't it unfortunate that certain political machinations within the Labour Party help prevent electing a Labour Party that would have brought out broadband and infrastructure
and
that
rail
might have facilitated
nationalisation.
such a thing,
Yeah,
and
rail
things like such of
nationalisation.
this nature.
When asked, but I had to check because I thought this shit sounds familiar. During her 6-day leadership campaign, she did an interview with Andrew Marr, and she was asked
6-day leadership campaign. It's just so funny to hear it read out like that.
It's just so
and she
good.
was asked specifically about rail nationalisation, and she proceeded to not give an answer, but just say we have to make choices and put vital services like prisons first. So she doesn't.
There's a whole bit. I don't know exactly where it is or whether we passed it, where she's like describing the kind of person who should be in Parliament, and she's like, if you're not prepared to
say in prison, but I suppose there's a lot more overlap.
Well, also that, yeah. No, she's like, well, if you're not prepared to cut one service in favour of another, then you're not fit to be in Parliament. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You run the fucking money factory if you're the government. What the fuck are you talking about?
Again, she has no fucking clue about economics whatsoever. It's a household budget. In order to pay for your car, you have to go without a toaster and shit like that.
And then she spends quite a lot of time during this chapter saying that, look, what you see on the telly is, the show, but really behind the scenes, we're much more mates and we all work together. And that doesn't bother her. She thinks that's good. So this is on that topic. Progress usually happens through lots and lots of meetings where you sit with ministers, civil servants, and experts and gently encourage them to do the thing or undo the thing that you want. So this is another big strain throughout the book, is like, really, you don't know this, but everybody in Westminster is really mates with each other and they like each other and they just have different perspectives, but they all want to do the right thing.
I like just quibbling over details at the edges of society and not actually changing anything fundamental, because that is completely anathema to her politics in particular.
So let me get this straight, right? You're saying that with a few rare exceptions, all the MPs share a common class. they really have shared class interests. I mean, the fucking revelatory stuff.
Yeah, she gives a specific example. After I'd finished with a debate, quote unquote, with a Tory MP called Alex Sherbrooke, I went out to the members' lobby to be reunited with a group of students who was following me, and Alex Sherbrooke walked out of the chamber, and as I greeted them, he came over and said something along the lines of, "Hey Jess, how are you? Are we still on for the meeting later? I've got some interesting stuff that I think might be useful." We chatted, laughing and joking with each other for a minute, and agreed we would meet later. The students looked on astonished, and it's just like, yes, of course they did.
Yes.
Yeah, because children are able to understand, like, whose interest you're allegedly supposed to be.
And, like, remember how much shit Laura Pitcock got when she said, "I will never be friends with a Tory,"
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't understand that there's a difference between, like, professional courtesy and, like, being friends with someone.
Yeah.
Because, like...
Yes.
And it's because British people are fucking stupid, first of all, but also because there's an
socially idiotic
overlap.
a lot of the time.
There's an unacceptable overlap an expected overlap between your social life and your work life. Lest I get in trouble with people again, I'm going to stop there, but that's it.
So then she goes on about, like, the process of what it's actually like to go into the chamber for a vote, and it's all technical and stupid, but...
I love to have being stood in a room explained to me in a book.
No, but she does, and what specifically what she says is, like, apparently you all have to wait in a room, and then, like, the whips do a thing, and then everybody has to listen because they have to march through the door, and that's, she says we all become, instead of proud individuals, become, like, sheep. So let me just read this bit, because it's incredibly indicative of how she thinks Parliament works and the people in it work. It is quite remarkable how a group of people who have been accomplished enough to rise up in the fields of their expertise, then climb the political ranks, who have the toughness and resilience that it takes to get to the House of Commons, revert to school kids meekly waiting for permission to go.
But she's thinking about herself.
Yes.
That's such like because look, the average MP is a fucking loser. I don't know how else to put it. They're a fucking loser who's an incompetent tit, and it shows in, like, the results of what our Parliament does. So, like, I don't know, Jess, sounds like a you problem. Like,
but I mean, she has this impression. It's reinforced throughout the book that, like, with a few very rare exceptions, everybody is good. Everybody just wants to work together. The Tories aren't like hateful monsters who just want the poor to die. They just have a different view about how society should succeed and blah blah blah, and it's like,
I mean, it's the fucking meme about neo-Nazis and white supremacists and like people of colour being like, and the Liberal being stood in the middle saying compromise. Completely antagonistic to each other.
It's the sort of like the fash on the streets, and it's the Antifa person being like, I'm going to stop that person by any means available to me, and it's like, you're just as bad as him. Like, have I perhaps done a video about this recently? Who could say?
Is that video available anywhere if people wanted to see it?
Available on YouTube. Just search SK the Crusader, and it will be the top one that comes up because it's my latest one.
Oh wow,
about horseshoe theory.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Plug early, plug off.
Yeah.
So she then goes on, like she talks about some of the shit she does in the evenings, like dinners and stuff. And I just wanted to read out this bit because this is very familiar to me from my previous life in Brussels. Most Tuesday evenings find me speaking, presenting, entertaining, and being lobbied at events with warm white wine and mini quiches. There are award ceremonies for every tiny little thing under the sun. Like me, many MPs...
Quite literally a fucking participatory trophy for MPs. Amazing.
Like me, many MPs and politically adjacent folks write books that must be launched. Many charities hold evening events to launch their new campaigns.
They must be launched, Jess. Must they?
But the thing is, like, what I'm not sure she sees, and this is this is the stuff I generally used to do, is like organize these things. The reason you do like funny little awards, and because MPs like to come out for fun things and not depressing policy talk, is like the reason, I don't know, BP and Shell hold the best cleaned up Pelican in the world award or whatever the fuck it is not because they're good people. They want something from you, and all the award ceremonies are just promo for the shit that they want.
And Jessie just stood there.
She's making it sound like such a chore. It's like, oh no, I have to go to these places and drink the wine and eat the mini quiches.
To be fair, the wine does sound fucking
The
shit.
wine is
Jessie
very
just
bad.
stood there
Generally speaking,
saying-
the wine genuinely is very bad.
The thing is, right, she could just not fucking go. Like, nobody's putting a gun to her head.
Yeah.
Or if she hates it so much and she thinks it's such an essential part of her job, she could fucking quit being an MP.
Yeah.
Like,
Just be a full-time writer, because you're very talented.
I'm gonna disagree, Sinan. I don't think she's physically capable of that.
No, she turns up and says, "Ooh, a free lunch."
She's about to buy condos.
Oh, a bridge, you say? Sounds great.
I mean, there's one more bit that I wanted to read out because it's another one with a footnote, so you know it's good. I do get to go to some really cool events, and a lot of the time I can take people with me, and that is how I socialise with my mates in London. We go to awards of fancy magazines, film premieres, and special theatre shows. A lot of famous people are involved in political causes, so you might be at a dinner or on media stand.
Oh, good. So I'm glad the famous people are getting their needs and wants addressed by in boring small talk.
And the next evening, you might be with Idris Elba launching a strategy for diversity in television. It's not all minute taking and emails about saving hen harriers. No, it's not. She was so excited to name drop him.
The
reason you know this, James, is because the footnote also concerned Idris Elba. Idris Elba was really nervous about giving a speech in Parliament, and afterwards, when we were all posing for a group photo, I cracked a joke and made him laugh. He said to me, "It's really helpful that you made me smile for the photo. I should take all these things with me so I can smile for the camera," to which I replied, "I gratefully accept your proposal of marriage. I am, in fact, engaged to Idris Elba, but we like to keep it private."
Oh, man. It's just... The thing is, she's such a simp. Like, I can say that here because we're not on fucking Twitch. I'm allowed to say it here, so I'm gonna say it. What a fucking simp. Like...
Well, that's also like, I helped Idris Elba, an incredibly accomplished actor, get over his nerves so he could do a speech in Parliament. It was me, Jess Philips, saving the day.
His job is to pretend to be other people. Like,
And it turns out that Jess Philips is strangely able to give tips on how to do that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Strange, that.
So then there's some bullshit about like how she used to think PMQs was super important, but now she no longer thinks it is, and because it's just Punch and Judy theatre and it doesn't really matter, which is something that we, broadly speaking, agree with. But like,
fair play.
Did it become not important when Corbyn stopped doing it.
Somehow. Yeah,
Yeah, actually, she specifically talks about Jeremy Corbyn and Theresa May.
Yeah.
She specifically mentions an exchange between them. Which, in fairness, it's fucking boring at the best of times, so whatever. Like,
for a political geek like me, it was that feeling of taking your seats in your first PMQs, soaking up all the noise and the hullabaloo. It was magical. I'd watched it on television pretty much every week of my life.
What kind of
normal person?
So, I had to watch it because I was doing a stream thing with someone. And I enjoyed the stream thing because I got to dunk on Keith for the whole thing. But, fuck me.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, it's the WWE for people who wank to the West Wing.
Yeah, none of the people in the West Wing look particularly good, so that's really grim.
No lies detected.
And bafflingly, she slags her every time. This is where Boris makes an appearance as well. And every time she references Boris or talks about Boris, she talks negatively about his appearance. He can't comb his hair and he's looking disheveled. That's
just
because that's what the working man thinks. They go oh, you know what I mean? That's what your mum would say. Your mum would say, oh, that Boris, why can't he brush his hair? Do you know what I mean? And
that's what my mum said to me. So.
Yeah, she's just really at heart. Jess Philips is just a mom from the regions. Do you know what I mean? So
there's an
famous region, Birmingham, not a city.
There's an amazing short anecdote about how she has a minute's worth of chat with Boris standing around somewhere. Because it's just glorious. Because this is one of the rare moments I think in my life where I'll sympathise with Boris Johnson. On a few occasions when I've seen the PM around, I've just walked up to him and started regaling him with my opinions, along with some more of my own. He usually just looks desperate to get away, and on one occasion started telling me about how we needed to get Brexit done. And it's of course he did.
Yeah, of course, because he doesn't want to talk. No one wants to fucking talk to you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Because imagine it, right? You're just standing there. You're at work, right? And you're just standing there, and then Jess Philips walks up to you and starts giving you her opinions. Fuck off. I've got plenty of opinions of my own. I don't need to hear yours. Jesus Christ.
So so now we're moving the scene from Westminster and we're going back in the constituency. That's the title of chapter 4. You could just say...
Actually, no, the full title.
Oh,
Home ground, back in the constituency.
Which essentially opens, which is also kind of baffling. It opens with 2 pages, something like that, with a list of things that Jess Philips MP cannot do.
In fact, one of them I particularly highlighted, which is I cannot demand that your electricity bill be immediately reduced. I mean, doesn't that imply there's something else going on that maybe you should be looking at?
Also,
price caps?
You couldn't do that. She couldn't write a letter and do that, but she could certainly try to be in a party that would advocate for the nationalisation of the electricity for the power grid. I'm just spitballing.
Far be it from me to tell her how to do her fucking job, but you can actually demand that. You can actually demand anything you fucking want.
So,
That's how demands work.
She goes on about her, big press profile a lot.
Yes.
Would you believe? And she never once seems to think, man, my constituents are getting dicked over by the energy companies. I wonder if I should use my massive press profile to kick up a fuss about that. Never occurs to her.
I honestly think she kind of knows on some level that if she did try and use her massive press profile to do that, she wouldn't have a massive press profile.
Well, actually, no, I don't know about that because she seems... Well, we'll get to it later, but I have cause to believe that's not the case.
Yeah. Outside... as Jamie pointed out earlier, after she... kind of outlived her usefulness of stabbing Corbyn in the front or whatever, has she really had that much of a profile? I mean, there's been a few things here and there where...
this book got pretty fucking extensively promoted. There was a 5,000 word piece in the Times with an abstract.
Christ alive.
Yeah. And it's the whole chapter about constituencies is essentially very boring because she just says, I can't do much of anything. I just do some things, but I'll write letters for you.
I'm just a tiny little MP. Don't ask me to do anything.
Small bean MP, but also there's a very funny bit... where she's like admitting she knows nothing about something, and she admits that she'd start with Wikipedia to find out about stuff. I was just like, you're a fucking MP, you have staff, you could like get them to like actually research it for you. Come on.
Does she think Karl Marx is one of the guys that started M&S? I don't know.
The main thing about it is like this whole chapter is once again is look at me. I'm normal. I'm from home. I'm from Birmingham. That's where I live. I interact with normal people. And it's the UK parliamentary system is one of the best is because we do have to do this shit and, you know, go sit and listen to people's problem and then tell them, actually, this is something I can't fix.
This is the bit where she talks about the odd jobs she made her husband
Yes.
do. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, like, this woman rings Jess Philips, right? First of all, imagine ringing Jess Philips. Fuck my life. But, like, she rings Jess Philips and she's like, I've got these paving slabs in my gun. Can you sort it out for her? She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not my job. But then she eventually sends her husband out to do it with a van. It's just amazing to me that she was like, right, look, this woman won't leave me alone. Can you just fucking do it now?
And the cheap romance of it. With the possible exception of Ireland, the United Kingdom is probably the only country in the world where you could expect to find the Prime Minister, the First Lord of the Treasury, to sit in a drafty church hall every other Friday night to listen to people complain about their next-door neighbour playing music too loud. When the fuck do you think that Boris ever did a constituency surgery, or fucking Tony Blair for that matter, or Keith, or David Cameron? Like, are they?
I know
fucked?
Theresa May definitely did one because someone wrote an article. It was like a proper FBPE like type who did an article about how fucking useless Theresa May is, which I suppose I could kind of buy.
Like, there's many things you can say about Theresa May which are bad, but she does have this very weird quirk where she genuinely thinks she's obliged to do certain things, and she can't deviate from it. And one of them is her constituency stuff, which meant that, bizarrely, she was one of the few prime ministers who actually did it, and not as a press op. Like, Tony Blair did a couple, but they were there for the press coverage. Like, it was a media event, essentially. So, I think that's Jess Philips yet again drinking the Kool-Aid and believing the propaganda.
Yeah. On a Monday morning, I could be in front of a constituent with severe mental health needs who is threatening to take their own life. And by that evening, I'm eating dinner off a silver platter in the American embassy, talking about UK-US relations with the US ambassador. All in one day.
That feels like a metaphor for something.
Yes,
I know.
Doesn't this tell us something?
All in one day. I must be down home with my fellow Brummies and an equal sparring partner to the Prime Minister. Just the self-regard.
There's no weaker thing than using the nickname for where, for people from where you're from in your book about how great you are.
Is she from Birmingham?
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't know that. I mean, it's
She does indeed like to take a little walk to the edge of town and go across the tracks, but then she comes back over again, and she mostly spends her time in the American embassy.
But I mean, it's just this constant reiteration of I am normal, I'm good, and
you know what doesn't convince me that someone's normal is when they insist to me that they're normal.
Yeah.
That really doesn't help their case at all.
But fortunately, now is finally the time wherein we get into praxis, which is what this podcast really is all about. Chapter 5, The Power to Change, how to get things done.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Right, as a professional political consultant, I've sharpened my pencil and ready to take notes. Go on, Jess Philips, tell us how to make change.
All right, well, here you go, James.
Well, I can't believe all future successes of the Northern Independence Party will be down to Jess Philips.
She is Northern, as she insists, right?
I kind of like the second sentence is just going to tell you everything you need to know. We act as though good versus evil is a thing. It isn't, not in politics anyway.
Oh my god!
What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, what are you not in politics anyway? There's been a lot of politics happening for a long time in human history, and I can say with some certainty there's definitely been a lot of evil going on.
If you
No, but she's technically correct because it hasn't been any good, right?
Well, yeah, I guess.
If you enter politics already knowing that you would never vote for a bomb strike or that you would never agree to cut a certain service for the sake of a different one, that you are not cut out for the realities of political office.
Fuck off.
Good.
Yeah, if you can't envisage a situation in which you would drop untold terror on an entire country thousands of miles away, then you're not fit to sit in this house of fucking slaughter. Fantastic.
Do you know what this is? This is like a distillation of the Wall of Gammon when they were like, "Why won't you drop the nuke, Jeremy?" Like what? Like she's fully like a Gammon character.
If you won't ride the fucking nuclear bomb like the cowboy at the end of the fucking
Doctor
Strangelove, then you're not fit to sit in Parliament.
To be fair, I'm afraid of heights, so I definitely am not going to do that.
I mean, it's not like any of these fucking pricks would actually ride the bomb themselves.
No, of course not.
Fucking Luke would. Lukey would.
Oh yeah, dropping it over Mecca as he waves his cowboy hat.
Okay, so we've established that she thinks, first of all, there's no such thing as good versus evil, there's only hard choices, and second of all, if you're not prepared to sell out, then you're not allowed to be MP. All of this tracks of what I know
when
of
her. When a decision is made, when a law is passed or changed, some people will be harmed. My job is to make sure those some people aren't always the same people.
Can I just say that like it's very easy to make difficult choices when they don't affect you. Yeah. Like, and this is what
my job is to make sure that not always the same people are harmed. My job is to spread the harm around. You know what I mean? Like layering margarine.
They're not difficult decisions when you're as thick as pig shit. And you just make them because you like imagine that it's because it's just cosplay. Do you know what I mean? You think you're just like a child with a toy typewriter just mashing the fucking buttons, and you think you're writing like a very important business document. Do you know what I mean?
It's Jess Philips in the business factory. Yeah,
the political version of that, where it's just like, oh well, yeah, we'll put 5p tax on carrier bags, and that means that we have to
support the bedroom tax.
Mulch another 6 million single mothers for the good of the economy or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
do you know what I mean? You just imagine that makes you into some sort of clever political genius hovering above everyone by the power of your glowing mind.
Jess Philips, the tragic hero who must decide fates, and you see this everywhere. It's like,
she's not the hero we need, but the hero we deserve.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Though it's not a difficult decision if you're not actually putting any thought into the decision. You're just doing it because you imagine, because it's like action figures to you. Do you know what I mean? You think that's the role that you're meant to play, is the difficult decision maker, and you just sit there and you just go like, oh, what's that? We should bulldoze all the fucking women's shelters in order to put up more student flats. Yeah, that's. Do you know what I mean? It's tragic, but it's got to be done. Do you know? It's just fuck off.
Yeah, but here's the thing. She's also she's being incredibly honest here, because if you think it through logically, if you spread the hurt around and don't concentrate it in any particular area, then you don't actually unbalance things. You don't change the balance of powers. If you put it all on, say, the rich, say, the powerful, then that might actually start to rebalance things. Whereas if you just spread it all around and try and keep it roughly on an even keel, you'll preserve the status quo. She's literally saying that's what she's there to do.
Can she even manage that, though? By what metric has the harm in this country been spread around?
Yeah,
it is almost
total fucking horseshit.
Yeah,
and it's also
an utter fabrication. The idea that harm has been spread around and not ultimately focused on the bottom rungs of society.
Yeah.
Exclusively,
but it's the other thing that she completely accepts as well. Is
that she has to make sure it doesn't affect the same people every time. Is just her doing PR for herself.
Yeah, and I mean,
she's perfectly happy to just dump that shit on the poorest and the fucking most disadvantaged every single fucking time.
And the other thing she does, which is she repeats it again, is this bit about you would. If you want to improve one service, you have to cut another. It's the magic monetary thing. Cuts must always be made because we cannot spend more money because there are these weird strictures that only exist in my fucking head because I've been badly taught and I've heard even more dumb things.
Well, yeah, because if you were spending money on everything, you wouldn't look like you were making difficult decisions, and then you wouldn't be...
Yeah, the tragic hero.
Yeah.
Even if the problem is clear-cut, the solution might not be. It might need a huge and unavailable logistical effort. It might mean diverting resources from elsewhere, and then where. It might need a bit of time to think and plan, come up with a solution that will help the most and harm the least. If you're going to come up with such a solution, you still have to battle the law to change the law. And it's like, again, there's this incredibly limited structure of how she thinks. This is how political change dies if the people in Parliament look at things and say, "Oh, this is the anti-Keynesian things. It's the project isn't shovel ready, so we can't start it. The budget, we can't create more money. It's not like we own the printing presses because it has to come from somewhere else. We need all this time, and I need to meet with my mate Jacob Rees-Mogg to make sure that he's on board for reasons passing human understanding." And then you get into this situation where simultaneously the causes are very bad and the solutions can't ever be very good, because that's just not possible. Because thinking that the solutions could be very good is not realistic, and that makes then you're not a tragic hero.
She's also objectively incorrect. There's always a simple solution, and the simple solution is communism.
Right, so now that we've had that, I just wanted to treat you to a little bit of more great Jess Philips writing, because some of it is just so good that I just want to, not because it's particularly interesting, but because of the writing. This is
it's definitely not interesting, but by God, is it terrible?
Yes, pretty much.
Fucking Rob, king of the upsell.
This is
fucking hell.
This is about big bills that have a lot of different elements to it, where everybody gets to spend some money, and they're called, broadly speaking, they're called Christmas tree bills because everybody gets to hang their bauble on it. Blah blah blah. MPs want the original bill that reflects the promise they made to the electorate to pass, so they might take you up on your offer to take the bauble off this Christmas tree if they promise to give you another tree for it. Either that, or you manage to whack a great big piece of Poundland tinsel right across their beautifully color-coordinated Liberty Christmas tree because your campaign was so strong that they had to let your amendment become part of the tree.
Wow, that is a fucking awful metaphor.
Yeah.
I just fucking
I
yawned.
genuinely couldn't quite follow it.
Can we just have MPs stop doing fucking metaphors, please? Like, it's just...
Or only if you're clever enough to do them. Like, if you're good enough to do them, if it makes sense, if you carry them through.
You see, getting a bill through Parliament is a lot like driving a car.
Yeah, but much
Getting
like...
a bill through Parliament is
I
a lot like playing Euro Truck Simulator 2 in the army.
I thought it was like eating an orange, but okay.
So, she talks about some of the arcane stuff that goes on and shenanigans, and some of it's interesting, some of it's not. And this bit I did find quite interesting, because she says, I tried to learn about how private members' bills and other things work, but I have no hope. As my mother's generation of feminists used to say, life is too short to peel a mushroom. So too is my political life too short to try to understand why the bloody hell we do some things the way we do, and why we don't change the stuff that is ridiculous. Some battles I just don't have the energy to fight. I.e., the systematic things, the fucking pageantry and the bullshit, that I cannot change.
Did this introduction not start about, the introduction to this entire fucking book go on about the archaic and silly things that she wants to change?
Yeah, that it should be the people's palace. It should be open to everybody, and it should be a thing. And it's like, now it's just...
the halls of power,
Yeah, but it's like, no, but actually I can't change the way arcane rituals and private members' bills work because I can't be bothered to find out. And it's like, and that is why you're such a mug. That's why you get a book contract like this to write these things, because you're the useful idiot. And that's, this is exactly the...
Oh, it's just, I'm just quite glad it's only taken 6 chapters, I think. Was it 6? 5?
Yeah.
I can't remember how far in. To actually just completely go, well, yeah, that is why I went into it. But, I fucked that off now. I can't be bothered. Fuck it.
The whole point she makes is like, you stupid rube reading this, think you may want change, but it can't come, and if it does, it's glacial, and you only get half of what you want. And that's actually normal and good. So let me read, but then she completely reverses course. having established that nothing happens fast in Parliament, the exception is, of course, if there's a sudden global pandemic, in which case fundamental laws can be overturned quicker than you can say personal protective equipment. It's remarkable, really, how quickly we can change laws when it is needed.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's weird
weird.
what's feasible when the political will is there, isn't it, Jess?
Yeah, Jesus. To be fair, I do feel like a fucking rube because I've read this book. But, like, Jesus. Like, you see what I mean by she's stupid, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, she's completely a prisoner of the modern political mindset. Things are bad, they cannot change, but they can change, but not for the things that I think are necessary. And I don't see how, you know, the upending of the spending rules and whatever the fuck went on during Rona, how that could be applied elsewhere, because that cannot compute.
Jess Phillips' mind palace is just a fucking panopticon.
No, I think the way she conceives of this internally is she just hears the song, "You can't always get what you want." I think that's just how it kind of works in her head, essentially. No, don't ask about the contradictions of it. Don't think about it. Just hum along to the song. You can't always get what you want whenever something comes up and she says no to it.
Yeah.
That's just her.
That is her. And that is also, for you, dear listener, the end of the first half of this podcast, because this...
The merciful end of the first half of this podcast.
Yeah. However, if you are a subscriber to our Patreon, you can go to that and listen to the merciful part 2, or the merciless part 2, I should probably say, of this podcast. And if you're not a member, you can subscribe on patreon.com/praxiscast. So we hope to see all of you, or at least most of you, as subscribers and as new subscribers there. So this is our cut, and otherwise we'll see you next week. But hopefully we'll see you on the Patreon in just a moment, because Sinan's here for the whole ride, as are you, as are we all.
And Sinan's also going to plug his stuff right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hi. I've been the guy who's slowly melted his brain by reading this, but if you want to see me melt my brain doing other things, you can catch me at twitch.tv.
Yeah, in real time.
Yeah.
In real time, yeah, that's right. /SK the Crusader, or you can see pre-recorded instances of my brain melting at youtube.com/SK the Crusader.
Yeah. He's the man with the best hair in left politics in the United Kingdom. Don't miss out anywhere. But join us in part 2, where we will be discussing what Jess Philips thinks of what an MP does abroad. We have foreign politics. We have social media. We have 2 whole chapters on dealing with the press. We have party politics, where you will learn nothing about party politics, and why she is such a cool rebel, and the conclusion to this thrilling saga. So join us in part 2.